The only time he ever had any happiness with me is when I got my commission in the Navy. It was right there, smiling the whole time. The proudest day of his life. But when I graduated and got my doctorate, he wasn't there. I always sort of liked the Navy better than the other branches of the service. If I'd have gone into the Army, I could have only spent 2 years and 4 months less and fulfilled my obligation. But I did it anyway, just because I wanted to be in the Navy. That was stupid, but I don't regret it. When I went into the Navy, I hadn't passed my boards yet, so I had my degree, but I didn't have a license to practice anywhere. While I was in the Navy, I made arrangements to take a board in Virginia and in Tennessee. And I passed the boards in both states. So I was licensed to practice in those 2 states. I could practice in the Navy because I didn't have to have a board examination under my belt to do that. But I didn't have a license to practice in any other state. I went to OCS. I went to
Cadet school.
Yeah, I went to midshipman school.
Yeah, but that has nothing to do with eyeballs, right?
No, nothing to do with it. But I learned a lot about ships and seamanship and all that, which was superfluous. I didn't need that, but I enjoyed it. It was fun for me. Eisenhower was president. There wasn't a single man lost in the military the whole time he was president, I don't think. When I got into optometry school, I was about 150 pounds. I got there October 1st. When I came home for Christmas, I was 167 pounds, and I was solid muscle. I gained 15 pounds in 3 months. I did all weights, yeah. I worked out with weights. I worked out 3 times a week, pretty good workout twice a week. On Saturday, I worked out for 3 hours, force feeding myself the whole time. I ate between classes, and I ate huge amounts of food, but I was solid muscle because I was working out like crazy. And I really was in good shape. And I was the only eye doctor. That's like an unbelievable position to be in. I mean, everybody wanted my services, and they were willing to do anything to get. I was just a little, schmucky little ensign or lieutenant junior grade, but I was treated like an admiral because I was the only eye doctor anywhere on that side of the water until you went over to Portsmouth. I went in as an ensign and I came out as a lieutenant junior grade. I wore a naval officer's uniform. I wore blues and khaki, and for special occasions like dress occasions in the summer, I wore whites. The best thing that happened to me when I was in the Navy is the skipper comes in one day. He's the commanding officer of a submarine. So I examined his eyes, and when I'm finished, he says, "What would you say if I asked you to examine my family?" Well, I wasn't supposed to do that because I only had military. There was nobody on my side of the river there that did dependents. You had to go to the Naval Hospital for that. But he was very nice. He asked me in a nice way, so I said, "Okay, I'll do it." About 2 weeks after I examined his eyes, one of the sailors from his boat comes in and offers me an invitation for your mother and I to spend the whole day on board the submarine, just the 2 of us and the crew.
Wow.
And we went out as guests of the skipper. We went out, skipper took us the boat out. He invited us as his guests to be on the boat. We went out down to North Carolina off of Ocracoke and those islands off there. They did it. It was just the two. Your mom and I were the only ones on the boat, except for the crew. It was the best day of my life. They submerged 4 times just for us, and each time, and a submersion of a submarine is a big deal. I mean, it requires the teamwork of the entire crew, and if they don't do it perfectly, it doesn't work out very well. And they did 4 submerges, and then they served us lunch on deck. It was a gorgeous day. Around midday, we went up on the deck. Your mom and I, and the skipper, and your mom and I had lunch on deck, and we had steaks. Had everything was perfect, and the day was gorgeous. It was one of the best days of my life. The Navy clubs, the officers' clubs, are the nicest in the military. The Air Force and the Army, their clubs are caca. Our clubs are gorgeous because we not only have to take care of all the guys on the base, but all the ships that come in from all over the place, Mediterranean, wherever they come from. Those men have to be serviced by the officers' clubs on the naval base. So our clubs were huge and gorgeous, and the Army and Air Force clubs were caca. And besides that, none of these guys could go to the clubs. They weren't in the military. I was the only one. So we had a lot of friends in Norfolk, and we would go out every weekend to one of the clubs. I saw so many patients when I was in the Navy that there was a doctor on the air station and another, they call them flight surgeons. I don't even know what a flight surgeon is, but they had an optometrist and a flight surgeon at the air station. Had nothing to do with me. They didn't examine anybody but air people, pilots and people that were attached to the air services. Both of them together, they didn't see a fraction of the patients I saw. It was so embarrassing that they came over and had lunch with me one day and tried to get me to see less patients because it was embarrassing for them. I was seeing so many, but I wanted to because I was trying to get the experience, and I enjoyed the work. But all of the crews of the other ships, the battleships, destroyers, cruisers, submarine tenders, all those guys came to me. Plus the foreign guys that came to the schools there from all over the world, Pakistan, France, England, all came to me.